last word on sports. Fourth down on 4.
Welcome into Fourth Down on 4. I'm Scott Cody. We're now 24 hours removed from the biggest win in Saints history and less than a week away from the next biggest game in team's history. We'll revisit yesterday's 27-24 win over the Eagles in just a bit. Today's news, though, the Saints' next opponent. And that would come from this afternoon's game between the Seahawks and Bears. Immediately after Drew Brees took his final knee to run out the clock against Philadelphia, Seattle's fan base in the Gulf South grew considerably. A Seahawk win, and the NFC Championship game goes through the Crescent City. But
right now, we're just excited about having a chance to host the NFC Championship game against a good New Orleans Saints team.
It's away from having a ring on my finger for the rest of my life. So we are excited moving forward already. We're already worried about the
level of play, and I think this week we're going to have fun, and we're going to be really excited, but also we're going to get down to business.
Joining us now from Chicago's Comcast Sportsnet is Mark Shanowski. Mark, first off, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about the game today between the Bears and the Seahawks, and let's grade Rex Grossman's performance. This guy had been under the microscope and had really taken a beating over the last 3 or 4 games and had said some things that really caused a ruckus up there. But the main thing was he pulled out a victory today.
I'll tell you what, the last 2 weeks probably the longest in Rex Grossman's life. As you mentioned, he took a lot of criticism, saying in the season finale against Green Bay he wasn't focused because he was distracted by things like New Year's Eve, which wasn't something an NFL quarterback should say. He was hit pretty hard in the local media, people saying he had a 0.0 quarterback rating. Could he turn things around in time for the playoffs? He did exactly that. He had a couple of turnovers today, but they did not cost the Bears the game. He threw for 282 yards passing, which was almost... Well, early in the season, the Bears were throwing the ball deep very effectively. They have a young receiver named Bernard Berrien who caught a lot of touchdown passes early in the season. But as the year went on and Grossman struggled a bit, they didn't get the ball to Berrien as much. He's come back strong later in the season. He caught the long touchdown pass today early against the Seattle Seahawks. Berrien is a guy who can get behind the secondary. He'll be a player to watch next Sunday.
And it looks like you guys use that two-headed monster type approach in the backfield with Thomas Jones and Cedric Benson, although Cedric got a majority of those carries at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's similar to the Saints with Deuce McAllister and Reggie Bush, but we don't really have the elusive speed back. They're more both power runners. Thomas Jones a little more elusive in terms of getting to the outside, but Cedric Benson is a classic power back. You know, when they drafted him number 4 out of Texas the year before last, they thought that eventually he would supplant Thomas Jones as the starter. Plans going back to training camp were for Benson to be number 1, but he got nicked up. Then Jones had the starting job in preseason and held it for the rest of the year. But the back of the future for the Bears is going to be Cedric Benson, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot of carries against the Saints on Sunday.
Yeah, Saints fans will always tell you they'll be wary of those University of Texas running backs. Sometimes they can come back and bite you.
Did the used to compare him to Ricky, too.
Did the Bears correct their problems today? You talked about Rex Grossman's low quarterback rating. The defense was starting to give up big plays. They were one of the top defenses in the league. As a matter of fact, I think one of the top ones, and then started falling toward the end of the season. Did you see them correct some of the mistakes that they were making at the end of the regular season today?
They still have some work to do. You know, early on they were a dominating defensive unit, but then injuries took away 2 of their Pro Bowl players, safety Mike Brown and defensive tackle Tommy Harris. And then late in the season, each of their starting corners got nicked up. Each of them missed some time, talking about Charles has to take the lead. But in the 4th quarter, when the game was on the line, they made some key stops. They stopped Sean Alexander on a 4th and 1 play that could have won the game for the Seahawks. They also sacked Matt Hasselbeck a couple of times. So the defense, I think, is turning up the intensity, getting better, but it's going to be the ultimate challenge to take on an offense with so many weapons like the Saints have.
Do you think the Bears, much like the Saints, have kind of flown under that national radar? Do they play with a chip on their shoulder? Maybe even with the 13-3 mark, people were saying that they weren't the best team in the NFC. Do they play as if they would like to maybe shut up some of those doubters?
Well, I think the Bears have a huge boulder on their shoulders. I mean, Brian Urlacher was saying earlier this week that they must be the worst 13-3 team in the history of the NFL, the way people talk about them. They feel like they've gotten no respect from the national media throughout the season. I'm sure if you sampled a lot of the national TV shows, you saw a lot of people were picking Seattle to upset the Bears in this game. Of course, they almost did that. But the Bears feel like they haven't gotten any respect all season long. And the fans in Chicago were understandably concerned because they've seen this act before. Back in 01, the Bears went 13-3, had a first-round bye, lost at home to the Eagles. Last year, they get a first-round bye, lose at home to the Carolina Panthers. So the fans were really scared about this game against Seattle today. And I have the feeling that they finally cleared that hurdle, getting that first playoff win. I think the Bears are going to be more relaxed going into the NFC Championship game. I know that sounds hard to believe, but I think they're going to come out a little more relaxed and probably playing their best football on Sunday.
Yeah, Mark, this could be the Rodney Dangerfield Bowl. No respect on either side given. But real quick, speaking of comedians, this week with the Saints coming to town, do you think Mike Ditka will have a pretty full schedule?
Yeah, I imagine so. I imagine all of his old friends from New Orleans will want to look up to Coach. You know, his restaurant is doing well. He's thriving as a restaurateur. He's also all over the local airwaves, so I'm sure you're going to hear him countless times on radio and TV, and I'm sure he's going to be doing a lot of interviews going back to New Orleans. But the coach is still a character. He still loves his Bears, and he'll be happy to make his feelings known to anybody who wants to ask him.
Mark Shanowski, Comcast Sportsnet up in Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week.
All right, Scott, thanks a lot.
Still ahead on this edition of Fourth Down, Drew Brees' arm led the NFL in passing, but it was the ground game that had the Saints earning their first ever NFC Championship berth. But the only way they could exert their dominance at the end was a defensive stand that forced the Eagles to a 3-and-out. Those stories just around the corner. Stay with us.
Down again.
He did not see that hit coming. He was looking back at the ball. That was a blind hit right there.
What were you thinking, though, when you first got hit on that, and what were your thoughts going through your mind?
I couldn't breathe. That was about it. I ain't gonna lie. I couldn't breathe. He got a good hit on me, man. So I wasn't thinking about nothing but breathing. That was it.
Reggie Bush may have been knocked down, but it was the Saints' running game that eventually knocked out the Philadelphia Eagles, moving the ball at will whenever they needed to. Winning is always fun, but winning with authority, well, that's even better. And with the first play of the game, a 12-yard Deuce McAllister run, the Saints' authority along the line of scrimmage was clearly defined.
He's a horse, you know. You could tell at the end of the game, too, that we were just going to ride his back. And sure enough, we did. And when we needed the big runs, he delivered. It was only fitting that the club's all-time leading rusher in his first ever postseason game would also break the club's playoff rushing record by the second quarter. But it was his 5-yard score in the third quarter that will be remembered most from a game that produced several memories.
I'm a big guy, so you know, if you get 230 pounds moving, plus my fullback is 255, you know, he's pushing along. You know, we're hard tandem to stop, and just determined, you know, just trying to be careful with the ball and not get it stripped. But you know, if you don't get a direct contact on my knees or anything like that, then I'm pretty hard to bring down, and it was just determined to get in the end zone.
Handed off inside to Bush, nothing there, comes to the near sideline inside the 5, diving for the pylon, he's in! Reggie Bush running like his feet are on fire.
And while Deuce ran through, Reggie ran around, at times making the Eagles' defense look like Fresno State, while still showing he has to get better at the little things.
Just from my vantage point, it just looked like Reggie had his eyes kind of downfield on the guy who he was going to have to make miss after he caught the ball, and it just kind of slipped through his hands.
It was a rookie mistake, and but you know, the good thing is we won. We got a second chance, and you know, I got to have a short memory, so I'm gonna forget about it as quick as possible and move on, get ready for this next game.
208 yards was the final tally for the Saints on the ground last night. 143 from Deuce, 52 from Reggie, and 15 crucial yards from Steve Weatherford that kept the ball in the Saints' hands at the end of the first half rather than giving it to Philly. The Saints weren't able to get any points, but more importantly, neither were the Eagles. The Saints led the NFL in offense this season, and when they needed yards the most, they got them. Deuce's final 3 runs tallied 14 yards and a first down that sealed the club's first ever trip to the NFC Championship game.
They weren't going to stop him on that 3rd and 1. and that was huge. It was huge. His effort was fantastic.
We wanted to run some clock off. I mean, we wanted to run some time off the clock, and we were able to just move the chains and, you know, to be able to have the victory play at the end of the game. That's what every team strives for.
I haven't had this much fun at all, and I swear I'm having a ball. This much fun.
For Saints fans, not just a long time, but forever. During the regular season, the Bears actually were better at moving the ball on the ground by almost 10 yards a game compared to the Saints. But through the air, no one was better at throwing the ball than Drew Brees and his receivers. An interesting stat on that later in the show. We look quickly at the Saints and Bears number this season as we continue. New Orleans has been the best team in yardage, but Chicago had one of the best scoring offenses in the league. Their defense was the best at keeping teams from scoring as well. Defensively, against the run, few teams were better than Chicago, although Seattle did have their way today. Despite the big plays, the Saints have been solid against the pass most of this season. Only one quarterback threw for more than 300 yards this season, and that was Brett Favre way back in Week 2. Well, he was too small and too slow. That's how the Eagles viewed linebacker Mark Semino, and that's why they jumped at the opportunity to trade him after the Saints training camp. Juan Kincaid caught up with the linebacker after his new team beat his old team for the second time this season.
Goes without saying, this is extra sweet for you.
It is. I mean, it'd be hard to make it any much sweeter than it was, but you know, against my former team, you know, obviously I got a lot of friends over there, you know, and they're down right now, but it's just it's an unbelievable experience.
Take me into the huddle, the defense for that final series for them. You know, 3 big first, second, third down hits, stopping them, making them eventually punt.
Yeah, you know, we knew we had to make a play in that situation. You know, our backs were kind of against the wall as far as just, you know, I think they needed 3 points to tie it up, so we needed to, you know, stiffen up. So, you know, guys just really cranked it up. I mean, the crowd was really into it. I mean, it was just one of those times when you just, as a defensive player, you look forward to times like that, and we really responded.
Can you give me one word to describe this team?
Team. I mean, you know, everybody gets along so well. You know, everybody's got so much heart. There's a desire to win by everybody on this team. It's so, I don't know, just something about it. It's hard to put into words, but you know, it's special. It's definitely special.
Does this feel like a Super Bowl visiting team, Super Bowl team that's a team of destiny, anything like that? I mean, it just seems like everything that could go right for this team has gone right this year, and that's what usually happens to teams that make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be playing your best football during this time of year. You know, that's how you get there. You know, to get into the playoffs is one thing, but when you get there, you have to be playing your best football. I think tonight we played good. We played, you know, good enough to win. But you know, we need to definitely improve to you know, for the NFC Championship game. But you know, we're in it, and we're you know, we're just excited.
Was this season meant to be? After all that this city has endured, is this season the elixir to what ails us? And he and Charles Grant team up to give the Saints an impressive bookend to their defensive line. We go one-on-one with Will Smith next.
One game from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, go ahead. Pinch yourself. The road to the Super Bowl has just one more stop for the Saints.
The past is the past, but up under the circumstances of it all, it does feel good. My first time for the organization, first time for a lot of guys, and we're just pumped up about it.
After years and years of feeling queasy over yet another disappointing season, this feels really good. This season, this team, it's been special. It's been satisfying and has the potential to get a whole lot better.
We've got high goals, and I couldn't be happier for, you know, the people in this town have been through so much. Our fans here are fantastic, and they were a big part of this win tonight. They've been a big part of our season all year. But obviously it's an exciting win for us.
It's amazing, man. I mean, you look at the guys that went through what we went through last year.
Not just last year, but how about the previous 39? Only 5 times had the Saints played postseason football. Most times, Saints players are planning playoff get-togethers with friends and family instead of game planning for a playoff opponent. But not today. Today,
you look at all the doubters, and you don't really say nothing. You just want to prove them wrong. Make them eat all their words. So when they get in your face and stuff, I tend to watch certain shows and stuff, see who picks us last and stuff. So as soon as sooner or later you winning, they're gonna have to come and do an interview, and it's nice giving them a nice big helping of humble pie.
We're all humbled by what appears to be destiny taking over. The fans can feel it, and the players, they can't help but acknowledge it.
Definitely has that kind of feel to it, but we just keep putting in the work and keep preparing as best as possible, and hopefully we continue to see the same results.
This may be destiny, but as a team, we just try to go out there and stay focused. And if we go down as an offense, we always have confidence to go out there and make plays. And our defense has been playing phenomenal, and special teams as well. So I believe in my teammates, and I know they believe in me. So we'll enjoy this tonight, but we'll look forward to next week.
Next week is next week. But let's enjoy this one for a bit longer. After all, it's taken 40 years to get here. I'm Juan Kincaid, 4th Down on 4.
And speaking of destiny, check this out. This year, the Saints became the 5th team since 1999 to lead the NFL in total offense and passing yards in the same season. Of the past 4 teams to accomplish that feat, 3 went to the Super Bowl. The 2000 Rams being the only one not to play on the league's final weekend. That team was knocked out of the playoffs by who else? The Saints. Will Smith became the only Pro Bowler from the Saints defense that has been very little on flash but very big on substance. They've done what's needed to be done when it's needed to be done more times than not this season. Juan Kincaid in the locker room with the Saints defensive end.
This has got to feel good. It's been a long time for this franchise, and this is a game you guys went out and earned.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge game for the organization. First time in the NFC Championship, and everybody over here is pumped. I'm excited myself. And, sit back tomorrow, relax a little bit, see who we play.
It was almost as if you guys were trying to give them an opportunity to get back into the game, the fumble late in the game, but 3 big defensive stops forcing the punt.
Yeah, we never trying to get nobody else back in the game, but, offense made a mistake, and we knew it was on our shoulders defensively, and we came out and made 3 big, huge plays and forced them in 4th and long, and they decided to punt the ball. So,
you guys felt like you frustrated them in the first half because your defense was pretty stout. Give up the 1 big play to Stallworth, but overall, pretty stout defense.
Pretty much. We coming in the game, we wanted to stop Westbrook, and we felt as if we had him under control. Second half, he got the 1 big run, and then after that, we pretty much shut him down. So, for the most part, we came out and did what we wanted to do, gave a couple big plays, but offense had our back, and they pulled it up.
NFC Championship game has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. My first time for the organization, first time for a lot of guys, and we're just pumped up about it, and, sit back tomorrow and see who we get to play next week.
All right, well, thanks.
Thanks.
We'll break down the week leading up to the NFC Championship game when 4th Down continues. Stay with us. A week from today, the NFC Championship game, 2 o'clock from Soldier Field in Chicago. The Saints and the Bears. Chicago has opened as an early 2.5-point favorite. You can get all of the Bears and Saints coverage you need right here on Channel 4. Beginning tomorrow, we'll have daily updates from Airline Drive, plus Jim Henderson's commentary tomorrow at 6. Beginning on Tuesday, Juan Kincaid will be in Chicago with reports from the Bears training facility. Be sure and join us. We appreciate you staying up late with us tonight. A special thanks to Comcast Sportsnet in Chicago and Mark Shanowski. For Juan Kincaid, I'm Scott Cody. Have a great week, and God bless.